What would you do? If you visited your son's grave expecting silence and sorrow, only to find a stranger there, weeping. Not just weeping but whispering your son's name. And next to her, a little boy placing flowers and softly saying, "I miss you, Daddy." Would your world stop? Would your heart race? Would you believe what your eyes were seeing? Welcome to Twilight Tales, where every story unveils the unexpected. If this is your first time here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the stories we tell don't just entertain. They make you feel. And today's story? It'll challenge everything you thought you knew about family, love, and grief. Let me take you inside the world of Evelyn Monroe, a billionaire heiress, a business titan, and most of all, a heartbroken mother. Her only son, Lucas, was the center of her world. He died tragically in an accident that shattered her life. Evelyn, despite her empire, couldn't protect him. And ever since, she's carried a silent grief that money couldn't touch. Every week, she visited his grave, alone. Until one morning she wasn't. That's when she saw Jasmine, a young black waitress, kneeling at the same grave, tears streaming down her face, holding a small boy. A child who bore a striking resemblance to Evelyn's son. At first, Evelyn thought it was a cruel mistake, or worse, a scam. But what she would soon discover was that her son had lived a life she never knew about. A love he kept hidden. And a child he left behind. This isn't just a story about wealth and secrets. It's about how grief uncovers truth. How love can exist in the shadows. And how sometimes the greatest healing begins with a single conversation, at a grave. So, what happens when a billionaire mother meets the family her son never introduced? What happens when pain and prejudice collide with the undeniable bond of blood? You're about to find out. Stay with us because this story will shock you, will move you, and just maybe, it will remind you that family isn't always found in boardrooms or bloodlines. It's found where love lived, even if it was kept a secret. Evelyn Monroe was a woman the world envied. She was the CEO of one of the most powerful real estate empires in the country, her name splashed across magazine covers, her elegance admired at galas and fundraisers. Her penthouse was in the clouds and her influence? Untouchable. But behind all the designer dresses and diamond pearls, lived a silence. The kind of silence that clings to you when you lose the only person who truly made life worth living. Her son Lucas. Lucas wasn't just her heir. He was her miracle baby, born after years of heartbreak and disappointment. He had her eyes, her fire, but a much softer heart. Evelyn raised him alone, after his father walked out before his first birthday. She gave him everything she never had, elite schools, summer homes, freedom. But money can't stop fate. Lucas died in a car accident at the age of 29. No drugs. No recklessness. Just an ordinary rainy night, and a truck that didn't see the red light. And just like that, Evelyn's world stopped. She didn't cry in public. She didn't collapse into grief the way people expected. No, Evelyn did what powerful people do. She planned the funeral, wrote the eulogy, and when it was all over, she vanished. For a whole year the media didn't see her. Shareholders speculated. Employees whispered. But every Saturday at 6 a.m., Evelyn made her way, without bodyguards or drivers, to a quiet cemetery just outside the city. There, in front of a marble headstone carved with the name, Lucas Edward Monroe, she would kneel. Some days she brought white roses. Some days she just sat, wrapped in silence. And some days she talked about the company, the world, the things he would have loved, the things she never got to say. It was her ritual, her private space, until that morning. That one morning when she parked her sleek black car by the iron gate and noticed something strange. Another car. A worn-down sedan with a car seat in the back. She felt irritated at first. The cemetery wasn't usually busy. And then as she walked closer, she saw them. A young woman no older than her late 20s, crouched near her son's grave, crying softly, holding the hand of a small boy, no older than 5. At first, Evelyn froze. Then the boy whispered something that made her knees buckle. "I miss you, Daddy." Evelyn's world began to tilt. Her breath caught in her throat. Who were they? And why? Was a child calling her dead son Daddy? It wasn't just grief anymore. It was a mystery, one that would tear open old wounds, challenge everything she believed, and change her life forever. Evelyn didn't approach it first. She stood frozen behind the rose bush near her son's grave, watching the scene unfold like something out of a dream, or maybe a nightmare. The young woman knelt in front of the headstone, her shoulders trembling as she cried silently. Her dress was simple, black, faded from wear. Her hair was pulled back into a bun, neat but tired. She didn't see Evelyn, yet. The little boy sat beside her, hugging a small stuffed dog close to his chest. He gently placed a wildflower beside the grave and whispered, "Good morning, Daddy." Evelyn's heart dropped. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a mistake. It was intimate. Personal. She stepped forward slowly, gravel crunching under her designer heels. The woman turned her head sharply, startled. Her tear-streaked face stiffened in alarm. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, standing and pulling the child close. "We'll go. I didn't mean to intrude." But Evelyn raised a trembling hand. "No, wait." Their eyes met, two women worlds apart. One in pearls, one in struggle. But both, grieving the same man. Who are you?" Evelyn asked, voice shaking. The woman hesitated, holding the child's small hand tighter. "My name is Jasmine, ma'am," she said quietly. "This is my son." His son. She nodded toward the grave. Evelyn's breath left her like a punch to the chest. She looked at the little boy. He had Lucas's nose. His eyes. That small smile that curved to the left, just like when Lucas used to giggle as a child. It couldn't be. But it was. Jasmine continued, voice barely audible. "Lucas and we were together for about 4 years. He told me he wanted to tell you. He didn't know how." Evelyn stared at the grave, then back at the boy, who was now hiding shyly behind his mother's leg. "I didn't know he had a son," she whispered. Jasmine nodded slowly. "I never wanted anything from him. Or you. He supported us, yes. But he kept our life quiet. He said he was protecting us, from the spotlight, from your world." Evelyn swallowed the lump in her throat. This woman wasn't lying. She wasn't asking for anything. She was just mourning. Just like her. The silence between them was deafening. Until Evelyn finally spoke. "What's his name?" Jasmine looked down at her son, then back at Evelyn. "Eli. Eli Monroe." And just like that, the wall cracked. Evelyn felt her knees weaken again, not from grief this time, but from truth. Her son had left behind a piece of himself. A living, breathing legacy. And now that legacy was standing right in front of her. Evelyn stood quietly as Jasmine brushed dirt off her son's jeans. The moment was surreal. Lucas had always been open with her, but this secret life? It shook the very foundation of everything she thought she knew. "I need to understand," Evelyn said softly, still staring at little Eli, who now peeked up at her with cautious curiosity. "Where did you and Lucas meet?" Jasmine exhaled. She didn't seem eager to talk, but something in Evelyn's voice, its sincerity, its quiet pain, allowed her to open up. "I worked the night shift at Rosie's diner," Jasmine began. "It was near one of his downtown developments. He came in late one evening. Alone. I didn't even know who he was. He wore a hoodie and jeans, looked more like a grad student than a billionaire." Evelyn's eyebrows lifted. That sounded exactly like Lucas. "He ordered coffee. We talked. Nothing fancy. I thought he was just kind. Polite. Not like the usual men who came in throwing money around." She smiled faintly. "He didn't even leave a big tip that first night." Evelyn gave a short, bittersweet laugh. Jasmine continued. "He kept coming back. Night after night. Eventually we started dating. He said he wanted something normal. Said I made him feel real." Evelyn felt her heart tug. Lucas had always struggled with the pressure of being the Monroe legacy. Maybe that's why he never brought Jasmine home. Maybe he thought she wouldn't approve. "Why didn't he tell me?" Evelyn asked, more to herself than anyone else. Jasmine looked down. "He was going to. Right before the accident. He even planned a dinner to introduce you to Eli. But..." The words hung heavy in the air. Evelyn didn't need to hear the rest. Her son had died with that truth on his lips. Suddenly, Eli reached for something in Jasmine's bag. He pulled out a small, tattered photo and handed it to Evelyn. It was a picture of Lucas, Jasmine, and baby Eli in front of a Christmas tree. Evelyn's hand trembled. There was love in that photo. A soft kind of joy she hadn't seen on Lucas's face in years. This wasn't just a fling. This was his family. Does Eli know who I am?" she asked carefully. Jasmine nodded. "He knows his grandmother is very important. That you're strong and that Lucas loved you. He's always wanted to meet you." Eli looked up and smiled shyly. "Grandma?" The word hit Evelyn like lightning. It wasn't formal. It wasn't rehearsed. It was simple. Innocent. Pure. Tears welled up in her eyes, and for the first time in years, Evelyn Monroe let them fall. She knelt, holding out her arms. "Would it be all right if I gave you a hug?" Eli looked at his mom, who gave a soft nod. Then the little boy stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. It was awkward, soft, gentle, but it was everything. In that moment, Evelyn didn't feel like a billionaire. She didn't feel like a CEO. She felt like a mother who had been given a second chance, through the arms of a child she never knew she needed. And Jasmine? She silently watched, knowing this moment was more powerful than any apology or explanation. It was the beginning of something neither of them could have predicted. Back at home, Evelyn sat alone in the grand marble kitchen, untouched tea cooling by her elbow. Her fingers gently tapped the edge of the photo Jasmine had given her. Lucas, Jasmine, and little Eli beneath the soft glow of twinkling Christmas lights. She stared at her son's smiling face, his arms wrapped protectively around Jasmine and their child. A deep ache swelled in her chest, a mixture of grief, guilt, and something she hadn't felt in years, hope. The house felt hollow. It always had since the accident. But now there was a voice. A child's laughter that still rang in her ears. A soft grandma that kept echoing in her mind like music. She didn't sleep that night. By morning, Evelyn made a decision. Later that day, Jasmine was finishing a shift at the diner, wiping down tables with practiced motions. She didn't expect to see Evelyn Monroe, elegant as ever, step inside the dingy diner, drawing all eyes. Jasmine's heart skipped. "Mrs. Monroe?" Evelyn smiled faintly. "Please call me Evelyn." The other waitresses froze. Customers stared. But Jasmine led her to a corner booth quickly. "I didn't mean to bother you at work," Evelyn said, setting down her purse. I had to see you." Jasmine sat across cautiously. "Is something wrong?" "No," Evelyn said. "Something's beginning." She took a breath. "I'd like to invite you both to dinner. At my home. Tomorrow." Jasmine blinked. "Are you sure?" Evelyn gave a small smile. "My son loved you. And he adored that boy. If he had told me sooner, I might have ruined it. Pushed you away. But now, I see what he saw." Jasmine hesitated. "It's a lot. The world you live in, it's not one I belong to." Evelyn gently reached across the table and placed her hand over Jasmine's. "You belong because you loved him. And because that little boy is my grandson. I want to know him. And I want to know you." Jasmine swallowed back emotion. She wasn't used to being seen, truly seen, by people like Evelyn Monroe. Not without judgment. Not without suspicion. Then Evelyn added, with a softness that surprised even herself, "Bring his favorite toy. He can play in Lucas's old room. I kept it all these years." The next evening, Jasmine arrived nervously at the Monroe estate, holding Eli's hand. The little boy gasped at the mansion's towering size and shiny floors. Evelyn greeted them at the door herself. No butlers, no staff. She kneeled and opened her arms. Eli ran to her. Jasmine's heart melted watching them. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was intruding on a world too grand for her. She felt welcomed. They shared dinner. They laughed. They told stories of Lucas. His silly habits, his secret love for old cartoons, his fear of cats. Eli even insisted on showing Evelyn his drawing of their little family, stick figures and all. That night, Evelyn stood by the window as Jasmine tucked Eli into bed in one of the many guest rooms. She didn't hear the sound of loneliness echo through the halls anymore. She heard life. And she realized, wealth had filled her home, but love, this love, had brought it back to life. Weeks passed. What began as a single dinner invitation quickly grew into something deeper, stronger. Evelyn found herself anticipating Jasmine's soft knock on the door each afternoon, the sound of Eli's little feet rushing down the hallway, the innocent giggles that replaced the cold silence once ruling the Monroe estate. The household staff began to smile more too. The chef started preparing Eli's favorite waffles on Sundays. The gardener helped him plant sunflowers near the fountain. "For Daddy," Eli had said. Even the icy butler, Mr. Hadley, secretly kept jelly beans in his pocket for the boy. Evelyn started waking up with purpose. She'd pick out storybooks to read with Eli. She'd help Jasmine organize her work schedule to make room for art classes Eli loved. She even found herself asking Jasmine for parenting advice. A billionaire learning how to braid a toddler's hair from a waitress who'd spent years surviving paycheck to paycheck. It was humbling. Beautiful. But not everyone approved. One afternoon at a high society luncheon, Evelyn found herself surrounded by fur coats and diamond necklaces. A woman leaned in with a smug smirk. "We heard you've taken in someone. A waitress, is it? And her child." Evelyn met her gaze, unflinching. "Yes. My grandson and his mother." The table went quiet. Another whispered, "But, isn't she?" "His mother," Evelyn said again. "She loved my son. And that child is as much a Monroe as I am." The murmur stopped after that. Because Evelyn Monroe had spoken, and when she did, the room listened. Back at home, Jasmine noticed Evelyn growing softer, warmer. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. Despite everything, the kindness, the dinners, the laughter, there was still a distance. She was still the help. Still the waitress. Still the woman who didn't have a trust fund or a private education. One night, as Jasmine was getting ready to leave, Evelyn stopped her. "You keep your guard up," Evelyn said gently. "Even now." "Why?" Jasmine sighed. "Because I've been judged my whole life, Evelyn. Because people like me, we don't usually get invited to tables like yours. We clean them." Evelyn walked over and took her hands. "You didn't just raise your son alone," she said softly. "You raised my grandson. With grace. With strength. And more love than any mansion or bank account could ever offer." She paused, then added, "You're not here because I pity you. You're here because you're family." Jasmine's eyes welled with tears, but this time not from sadness. And in that moment she believed it. Evelyn had opened her home, and slowly her heart. But she still carried questions that haunted her quiet moments. Why hadn't Lucas told her about Jasmine? About Eli? Why had he hidden something so beautiful from her until it was too late? One quiet evening after Eli had gone to sleep in Lucas's old room, Evelyn sat across from Jasmine on the veranda. The night air was soft, the stars scattered above them like diamonds across velvet. "I have to ask you something," Evelyn said, sipping her tea slowly. "Why didn't Lucas ever tell me about you? Or about Eli?" Jasmine took a long breath. Her fingers tightened around her teacup. "He wanted to," she said finally. "So many times. But he was scared." "Of me?" Evelyn asked, surprised. Jasmine nodded. "Yes and no. He admired you. Respected you. But he also feared how you'd react to me. To us. He didn't want to ruin what little peace you two had." Evelyn looked down, guilt stabbing her heart like a blade. "I pushed him too hard," she whispered. "Wanted so much from him. Expected so much. Maybe he thought I wouldn't accept his choice." Jasmine reached out and gently touched her hand. "He loved you, Evelyn. Even when you didn't agree. He didn't hide us out of shame. He hid us to protect everyone." There was silence for a moment. Then Jasmine added softly, "The night he died, he was on his way to tell you everything. He had finally made peace with it." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. He was coming to me?" "Yes," Jasmine said. "He had bought a little bracelet for Eli. A silver one. He wanted to give it to you, ask you to meet us. He wanted you to see your grandson's eyes." Evelyn broke down. All this time she had assumed Lucas had shut her out. But now she realized he had been coming home. And fate had been cruel. After a few quiet minutes, Evelyn composed herself and walked upstairs. She went into Lucas's old room, where Eli lay sleeping with one hand curled beneath his cheek. She sat beside him, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. Then she whispered, "I'm so sorry I wasn't there when you were born. But I'm here now. And I promise I'll never let you go." Back in the living room, Jasmine waited. She noticed a small package left on the table. Inside was the bracelet Lucas had bought. She clutched it to her chest, tears falling silently. Evelyn had found it that morning while clearing boxes in the attic. Now it belonged to Eli. And for the first time in a long time, things felt right. The next morning, Evelyn stood by the window of her late son's study, watching Eli chase butterflies in the garden while Jasmine sipped tea on the bench. The sunlight wrapped around them like a quiet blessing. She knew what she had to do. That afternoon she called a family attorney and requested a private meeting. Within days paperwork was drawn. Terms were drafted. Decisions were finalized. A week later she invited Jasmine and Eli into her grand sitting room. "I have something to share," Evelyn began, her tone steady, though her hands trembled slightly. "It's about the future. Yours. And his." Jasmine's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Evelyn took a breath. "I've amended my will. And more importantly, I've submitted paperwork for legal guardianship and inheritance." Jasmine blinked. "Inheritance?" "I'm naming Eli as my legal heir," Evelyn said calmly. "As Lucas's son, it's his right. But more than that, I want him to have every opportunity in life. Education. Stability. Legacy." Jasmine sat frozen. "You don't have to." "But I want to," Evelyn said, gently interrupting. "And I've also set up a fund for you, Jasmine. So you can finally finish your degree if you'd like. Or start your own business. Or just breathe. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes. Evelyn. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay, Evelyn said softly. Say you'll let me be a part of his life. Yours too. Jasmine reached out and held her hand. You already are. That evening they had dinner together at a long table that no longer felt too big. Eli insisted Evelyn wear a silly paper crown he made in preschool. She wore it the entire meal, laughing between bites of macaroni and cheese and filet mignon. They weren't just coexisting. They were healing. Together. Weeks later, Evelyn hosted a small garden party, not the lavish galas of old but something simple and honest. A few close friends came. Most had never seen Evelyn smile so much, or speak with such softness in her tone. She introduced Jasmine not as her late son's friend or guest, but as family. This is Jasmine, she said, the mother of my grandson, and the strongest woman I've ever met. That day they took a family photo under the old magnolia tree. Jasmine held Eli in her arms. Evelyn stood beside them with one arm around them both. A photo that would later sit on Evelyn's fireplace mantel for the rest of her days. In the grand tapestry of life, it's not always the wealth, status, or carefully laid plans that shape our destiny, but the unexpected moments that pull at our hearts. Evelyn never imagined that a quiet visit to her son's grave would change everything. She never expected to find love again, not romantic love but something just as powerful. The love of a grandmother, the warmth of family, and the courage to rewrite a future she thought had ended with her son's last breath. Jasmine never expected kindness from someone like Evelyn. She had known hardship, loss, judgment. But in Evelyn she found not just a lifeline, she found redemption, respect, and a place to belong. And little Eli? He would grow up knowing that he was never a secret, but a miracle, a bridge between two worlds. Proof that love can bloom even in the shadows of grief. Their story isn't just about pain and healing. It's about transformation, about how sometimes, the most unimaginable twists in life lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. If this story moved you, warmed your heart, or reminded you of the power of compassion, then don't keep it to yourself. Speech Balloon, tell us, what would you have done if you were in Evelyn's shoes? Sparkles, we love hearing from you. Every comment builds our beautiful community. Pushpin, if this is your first time here, welcome to Twilight Tales, where powerful stories shine in the darkest hours. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next unforgettable journey. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the people we least expect become the ones who save us. Until next time, Crescent Moon.